I'm pretty confident I've said this before, but September 2026 new book releases is literally one for the books. Welcome back to A D in the Life, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Adi. I like to talk about books and I like to read books in pretty much every single genre you could think of. That's what makes these videos so fun, but also so chaotic because it's almost impossible for me to whittle the list down. Case in point, we have 48 books to get through today. It's almost like the birthday gods said, Adi, we know your birthday is in September, so we are going to give you all of the books and basically make you want to take the entire month off of work so that you can read every single book that's going to come out. Not to make it all about me, but it does feel that way. As always, we're going to go through my top 5 most anticipated reads of the month, which was actually so hard, and then we'll go through the rest of them by the date that they are being published on. Okay, so starting with my top 5, and maybe the most anticipated one for almost everyone I know, and that is The Knave and the Moon. This is by Rachel Gillig. This is the second and last book of the Stonewater Kingdom duology. First book was The Night and the Moth. I did really enjoy it. It's a gothic romantasy duology between a diviner and a knight, and they live in this weird kingdom where nothing honestly makes sense. Honestly, I might be due for a reread. Rachel Gillig's writing is fantastic. If you haven't read the Shepherd King duology by her yet, you absolutely need to. It is a perfect fall romantasy duology. I will say I liked both books 1 and 2 of that duo better than The Night and the Moth. The star of The Night and the Moth to me was the gargoyle, and I do think that that took away a little bit from the rest of the plot. I actually did film a reading vlog of me reading that book if you're interested. I'll link it below. But I did give it 4 stars, so I am excited for book 2, and not for nothing, but in the Shepherd King duology, the second book was even better than the first. I haven't really heard anything from any ARC readers, so I have no idea what to expect, but I'm excited to read it. Now, the next one is perhaps my most anticipated of the year. Honestly, I think it is, and it's The Pirate Queen by Ariel Lawhon. She's one of my favorite historical fiction writers. She wrote The Frozen River, which literally lives in my head rent-free. She also wrote Codename Helene. Haven't read that one yet, but I need to. She wrote I Was Anastasia. Fantastic, very underrated historical fiction that explores Russian history. I forget what century that was. So this one in particular takes place in the 16th century, and it follows the life of Grace O'Malley, who was an actual Irish sea captain and also is a folk heroine, I think because she was a big part in protecting Ireland against the Elizabethan regime. I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. I've heard fantastic things. Also, look at that freaking cover. And it comes out on the 8th, which is a day after my birthday, so it is basically Ariel's birthday gift to me. Another book I'm incredibly excited to read, and I didn't even know it was coming out until I think a few months into the year, and that is We Chase Shadows by Richard Osman. Some of you might not know this, but The Thursday Murder Club is my all-time favorite cozy mystery series. This is the same author of that series, but this is his newer cozy mystery series. The first book is We Solve Murders. This book is We Chase Shadows. It's a weird smorgasbord of characters that come together, little found family vibes. The main female character is being framed for something, so they go through this insane journey to figure out what's going on. And by the end of that book, they create like a PI agency. So in this book, they get their first official case that they have to solve. I'm gonna read this soon. I'm so excited for this. Next one is honestly another incredibly highly anticipated release for me, and that is Kiss, Slay, Replay by Rachel Harrison. So Rachel Harrison is one of my favorite horror authors, maybe my favorite horror author of all time, honestly. Her books blend horror and humor and a little bit of romance, and they're a little bit more lighthearted. Like, I can expect generally a decently happy ending, which I do appreciate in books that scare the living shit me. The first book of hers that I read was So Thirsty. It's about vampires. I love that one. All of her books kind of focus on one horror theme. So there's a vampire book, there's a book about werewolves, there's a book about witches, there's a book about a haunted house. That one's called Play Nice. That was released last year, and I think that's my favorite of hers so far. Though this one probably will give it a run for its money because it includes a time loop. I don't know anything about it. I know it's set during a wedding and there's a time loop, and that's all I want to know. I love going into her books blind because she never disappoints me, and I literally cannot wait for this one. And the last one in my top 5 is If Not You by Ellen O'Clover. This is by the same author of The Heartbreak Hotel, which was a fall romance I read last year. I believe that was her debut. I really loved it. It was very cozy, not too cheesy, a pretty well done strangers to lovers romance without it being too insta-lovey, which I appreciated. Now this one I think is going to be even more up my alley because it is about 2 rival copywriters that are vying for the same account, but in order to get to said account, which is a luxury resort, they have have to spend a month on the road together. So you have enemies to lovers and a road trip romance. I mean, I couldn't dream of anything better, honestly. Okay, moving on to September 1st, quite a few exciting new releases. First up is I Hope This Email Finds You in Hell by Mackenzie Reed. I mean, the title and the cover alone, I pretty much was immediately sold. This is a paranormal romance, but I think also a horror, and it's about the secretary who's working late and she accidentally catches her boss performing an exorcism on one of her coworkers. If that doesn't draw you in enough, the boss is hot and a demon hunter, and the two of them pair up, I guess, to fight demons. It's giving Charmed, which is one of my favorite TV shows. Everything about this, I'm obsessed with. Then we have A Time of Witches by Madeline Martin. This is a historical fiction slash fantasy paranormal situation going on. It's about a woman who loses her mother, and after that happens, some weird things start happening. Plants start turning towards her, her birthmark starts itching, and somehow the book connects her to a woman who was accused of being a witch back in the 1600s. I'm guessing you have a dual timeline, and also a book about witches is perfect for autumn. This is the same author of The Secret Book Society, which is actually on my list. I haven't read it, but I've heard incredible things. So now I'm gonna add this one to my list as well. Okay, then we have The Birthing Tree by Amanda Peters. This is the same author of The Berry Pickers. This is another historical fiction. It's about a woman who's part of the Mi'kmaq tribe. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's a Native American tribe in Canada, and I think it's a little bit of a coming of age story. The main character leaves a tribe, then comes back, so it's giving return to hometown, kind of reclaiming your identity type of situation. The cover phenomenal. I know this author is fantastic. I really want to read this one. The Gods Will Sing Our Song by Autumn Krause is another historical fiction, although this one I think blends some fantasy in it, and it's also a YA historical fiction. It's about two star-crossed Japanese American teenagers, and I believe it's set during World War II. I don't know where the fantasy part comes in, but it has great reviews, and again, look at that cover. Our first thriller on the list is Mother, Daughter, Sister, Stranger. This is by Hank Phillip by Ryan. I'm not familiar with this author, but the premise of this one sounds so interesting. It's about two sisters who were the sole survivors of a plane crash 11 years ago, and that includes their parents that were lost in the plane crash. And then in the current timeline, one of the sisters goes missing, and so obviously the other sister tries to find her. I do love books with sister dynamics, although sometimes in a thriller situation, it does stress me out, but I do really want to read this one. Next book on the list I've been seeing everywhere, and it's The Three Graces of Pearl Street. This is a debut historical fiction by Elizabeth Wellington Rollins. First of all, the cover, fantastic. This is basically about 3 generations of Italian Americans coming under one roof, maybe for the first time. So it's a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. I feel like this will be peak family chaos. It's getting fantastic reviews, and I love a debut, so I gotta read this one. Also coming out in the first is Paper Ghost by Sarah Addison Allen. This is labeled as a magical realism story. I think there is also some romance in it, although that is a little bit unclear to me as of now, but it's about an infamous family, the Wester women, who live in this small town, and I think there's some generational family secrets. I'm not sure, but it is giving the Unmaking of June Farrow vibes, and I loved that book, so I need to read this one. Okay, last one is Understory by Chloe Benjamin. I honestly don't quite understand the premise of this book, but I'm enamored by the cover, and also I love a sci-fi magical realism romance of sorts. This one takes place in an end of the world dystopian type of setting, and I think it revolves around a divorced couple, and it's also labeled as a romance, so I'm gonna assume there's a second chance romance in there. Not always my favorite, but in this type of setting, when it's a doomsday situation, I always eat it up. Okay, we've got some good ones coming out on the 8th, which is the day after my birthday. I wonder what the tally will be at the end of this video for how many times I mentioned that my birthday is in September. I digress. One of the books coming out on the 8th is See You Next Tuesday by Kate Stayman London. This is another enemies to lovers romance, but it's between 2 political staffers. Honestly, all I had to do was look at this cover, and it just gave peak 90s rom-com vibes, and so it went on my list immediately. We have Taipei Story by R.F. Kuang. Now, admittedly, I haven't read an R.F. Kuang book yet. Maybe this is the first one? I don't know. God, I've been hearing fantastic things. It's a coming-of-age story about a college freshman who goes off to spend the summer in Taipei at a very intensive language program for Chinese Americans. Like I said, I've heard fantastic things. I obviously know R.F. Kuang is beloved, but if you've read her books and you have a recommendation for which one I should start with, let me know. Okay, another book I'm really excited about is The Witches of Cambridge. This is by Alice Hoffman, the author of Practical Magic, and this is a new historical fiction dark academia series about witches. So obviously there's a little bit of magic in it as well. Set in the 1950s in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So once I saw that, it went on my list, but also because witches Witches. It also went on my list. And it follows two girls who become immersed in this secret group of witches. I mean, I didn't need to know anything else. Like I said, every single aspect of this made this book go on my list. Next up is Tempest by Victoria Aveyard. This is the same author of Red Queen, I think is what it's called. I believe she hasn't written a book in a very long time, and this technically might be her adult debut. I believe this is the start of a new romantasy series set on the high seas with a bunch of pirates. Pirates are in. This cover is fantastic. I really want to see how she writes adult romantasy. So yeah, I need to read this one. Okay, we've got another historical fiction, The Lost Perfumes of Paris by Christine Wells. If you're new here, then I need to tell you this. When a book is set in Paris, it basically automatically goes on my TBR. On top of that, it's a book about perfumes, and I love perfumes. So 1 + 1 equals goes on my TBR. I believe this is set around World War II, and it's about a woman who wants to follow in the footsteps of her mother, who was a really well-known perfumer in Paris. No, actually, I stand corrected, in all of France. It also says it's set against a backdrop of mid-century Parisian glamour. That's all I needed to know. We have a new book by Julie Olivia, Love Felt Like This, which is a grumpy sunshine small-town romance set in the fall. This is by the same author of If It Makes You Happy, which was, I think, one of the most popular fall romances that came out last year. I actually have not read that one, but I really need to, and I love that this one is a grumpy sunshine. So I don't know, maybe I'll read this one first and then I'll go back and read If It Makes You Happy. Okay, last one coming out on the 8th is The Mystic and the Missing Girl. This is by Vicky Van Sickle. I gotta know if that's a pen name. This is a cozy mystery, I think with some paranormal elements, maybe a little bit of romance, and it's about a psychic who also is a tarot card reader that somehow gets involved in this missing case, and she ends up pairing up with her arch nemesis from high school, who is now a reporter, to try to investigate the case and solve it. I love an amateur sleuth moment. I love a little romance with my mystery, so I really want to read this one. Also, the cover is so fun. Okay, on to September 15th. We've got quite a few books coming out this day that I'm super excited for. Starting with Hollow Bones by Jodi Picoult. One thing about Jodi Picoult's books is that the synopsis is only half of the book. Usually there's something that happens that changes the entire trajectory of it, and so I do want to go into this one primarily blind because I think that's the best way to experience her books. What I do know is that it has incredible ratings, a dual timeline, and I think it starts off about this woman who's in charge of an emergency preparedness department, which I think was a choice because when she was growing up, she lost her mother during 9/11. That is all I know. That is all I want to know. All I know is I really want to read this. On a lighter note, we have Thank You for Remembering by Emily Harding. This is a romance where a woman wakes up all of a sudden having amnesia, and her new charming neighbor basically helps her figure out her entire life. Again, it has a really good rating. I feel like it's giving rom-com vibes. I haven't read this author's other book, which is How Freaking Romantic, because I heard that one is a fall romance, so I want to read that this year, but I've heard that one is really good too. And I love the covers of her books. This one is so fun. Also coming out on the 15th is Grim Tidings. So this is the second book in B.K. Borison's Ghosted series, which is an interconnected paranormal romance series. The first book is Good Spirits. That one is a holiday romance. This one I don't believe is whatsoever. It's a romance between a guardian angel and a grim reaper. I think there might be a little bit of an enemy situation, maybe grumpy, which I do like quite a bit. I am going into this one a little weary because I don't always jive with B.K. Borison's books, but I loved Good Spirits, so I'm really hoping I love this one too. I have heard fantastic things. Next is Deadly Little Lessons by Danielle Valentine. This is a YA thriller horror, and it's about this girl who has been bouncing out of juvie and different foster homes, and she gets accepted into this experimental school where only 5 total kids can graduate every year, and they have all these crazy classes. Let me see what one of them was. A death trap obstacle course in physics, a chemistry exam with explosives, so things like that. I think that this is a perfect book for somebody that didn't love high school, aka me, so I am really excited about this one. I think it sounds so fun. Okay, the next book, the second it likened it to Grey's Anatomy, it went on my list. Bodies of Magic is by Freya Marsk. I hope I'm saying that correct. It's a dark academia romance, and it also is set at this like weird boarding school with very weirdly dangerous trials, and I think also a dead body. So it's mystery and fantasy, maybe some romance, I'm not sure. But the second it said trials, academy, Grey's Anatomy, it went on my list. Now, Fallow by Sarah Anderson mostly went on this list because of the cover. Like, this is a wild cover. It also, though, is giving me Severance vibes, which I love that show, so I am intrigued by it. I think it's part horror, part dystopian, maybe also a little litfic. It's a debut, and it's about this woman who signs up to be one of the first in-house corporate surrogates. I don't even really know what that means, but I'm fascinated by it. We also have Turncloak by L.K. Stevens coming out. This is the second book in the Silver Cloak saga. It's a newer romantasy series. I think it's enemies to lovers, and the first book follows a detective. I think the same main character is in the second book. That's all I know. I haven't read Silver Cloak, although by the time this goes live, hopefully I have started it and hopefully I am loving it. And if that's the case, I will put an update right here. And if I'm not loving it, I just won't tell you. I'm hoping that I love it and that I want to read this one immediately after. Next up is Doomsday by Laura Piper Lee. I have not read anything by her yet, but I have heard she is a hilarious rom-com author, and I think that that's what we're in for with this book, which does have fantastic reviews and a fantastic cover. If I'm understanding the synopsis correctly, a doomsday prepper and a nerdy film professor go on a first date, and then all of a sudden there's a zombie apocalypse. I don't know, but it sounds like a fun time, and I feel like it's the perfect fall spooky read, but a less scary one. We also have Exit Party by Emily St. John Mandel. This is the same author of Station 11, which I haven't read. I know that I need to. This is set in the future, and it's about a man who disappears from this very fancy LA party, and then a woman basically tries to figure out what happens to him. It's set in 2031, so I am really intrigued to see how she sets up this world that's only less than 10 years out from where we are now. Actually, not even. What is it? That's like 5 years. That's only 5 years. So it's actually not set that far into the future, but I am still intrigued to see if it's a different world or if it's mostly the same. And also, again, fantastic cover. We've got a nonfiction in here. I need to read this title to you straight off my computer because I'm not gonna remember it. It's called Redwood, The Untold Story of the Cold War's Most Extraordinary Spy. This is by Ben McIntyre, so obviously the title pretty much gives you the synopsis. It's a biography about a real-life Russian double agent during the Cold War. Honestly, the Cold War fascinates me. If you've never watched The Americans, I would highly recommend, because before that I didn't even know what the Cold War even was. I feel like people my age, so I'm in my 30s, we kind of were past the end of the Cold War and it wasn't really something taught in school. So I just, yeah, anything I read about it or watch is just so eye-opening to me. Last one coming out on the 15th that is on my list is another memoir. It's Never Say Die by Ki Hoi Kwan. I think I'm saying that correctly. If you don't know who he is, he's a pretty well-known actor, but he was originally a child actor, kind of went a little MIA, and then has had this incredible resurgence in Hollywood. On top of that though, he's a Vietnamese refugee. I just feel like he probably has the most incredible story to tell, and I really, really want to read this. Okay, one book out on the 16th, and that is Read by Izzy Berry. This is a paranormal romance between a werewolf and what I think is not a werewolf, but she might secretly be one. I'm not totally sure. It also seems to be the first in a new series. Something about this cover is giving really spicy werewolf romantasy, and I'm really honestly hoping that it fills the void of not having Mate by Ali Hazelwood to read this year. Now, one book out on the 21st that is on my list, and that is The Munich Affair by James Patterson and David Ellis. I'm very interested in the fact that they wrote this together. Two very well-known thriller authors, and this is more of a historical fiction thriller. I don't know if it's set during World War II or just the entire book is about World War II, because it's through the eyes of 3 different people trying to solve past crimes that I think occurred during World War II. Also, shout out to the cover. I'm obsessed. She is a thick one, I gotta say, but I'm really excited. I've actually never read a James Patterson or David Ellis novel, so I'm excited to have this. Okay, September 22nd might be the most stacked day in September, starting with Murder at the Grand Alpine Hotel by Lucy Foley. So I believe this book is either based off an Agatha Christie novel or just an Agatha Christie character called Miss Marple. I actually really enjoyed The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I also read The Paris Apartment. I didn't love that one as much. I've also read one Agatha Christie book. Which one was it? Murder on the Orient Express? The one that's the train in the snow. That one. I did actually really enjoy it, though it took a hot sec. But this one is set at a luxurious hotel in the mountains during the winter, and I think the cast of characters, they're all pretty extravagant, and there's a murder, so obviously there's a little locked room mystery going. Everything about it, plus this freaking fantastic cover, made it so it had to go on my list. We have a new fiction by John Green called Hollywood Ending. I'm very curious because the premise doesn't sound really depressing, but I feel like his books are depressing. This is a story about 2 co-stars on a biopic of Andy Warhol, and they're also up-and-coming Hollywood stars, maybe falling in love, so I think it's also a romance. The cover is fantastic, though I gotta say I haven't really been hearing anything about this book, so this will probably be one that I wait to see more reviews of, but it is on my radar. Okay, we've got a new romantasy series and an adult debut by the author of the Belladonna series. The Wretched Divine by Adeline Grace is a romantasy about a human knight that is determined to end end this war between angels and demons. Demons always fascinate me, and I also love that the main female character sounds like she's gonna be a badass, so I am really intrigued by this one. We've got another debut, and that is You're the One That I Haunt by Katie Jung. So this is a paranormal romance. It's about a girl who I think is in love with her best friend who is getting married, and then his cousin, who is a ghost, is trying to end their family curse, which requires making her best friend get married, but then they end up teaming up together to make the wedding happen. I don't really understand how it works. I'm gonna assume she falls in love with the ghost, and I do love a paranormal romance. Okay, we have another YA thriller horror situation. Lucy Klein Necromancer is by Tom O'Connell, and it's about this girl whose twin sister has disappeared, although she's also been declared dead. And I think due to some circumstances a couple years later, Lucy starts to investigate said disappearance. It's marketed as a Nancy Drew style murder mystery and also for fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so it immediately went on my list. We actually have a new S.A. Cosby novel titled The Truth to Power. This is part of a Marvel Universe thriller series situation. I don't exactly understand, but I did read the first book, which I forget what it's called. I think it's called Breaking the Dark, and that one's about Jessica Jones, and it's written by Lisa Jewell. I know there's another book that was about Daredevil, and this one is about Luke Cage. I've only read one S.A. Cosby book, and that was Razorblade Tears, but I did really enjoy it, and I do love Marvel, so this one is definitely on my radar. We have another memoir on the list. Look at me with so many nonfictions. This one is An Unexpected Life by Gloria Steinem. She is one of the world's most infamous activists, a feminist leader. I think this will probably be an incredible memoir, and so it went on my list. Very different vibes, but also out on the 22nd is Maisie Wood by Tananarive Due. I think that's how you say her name. I could be very wrong. This is the same author of The Reformatory, which I have not read yet, but I have heard fantastic things. Honestly, I might read it this fall, although I might want to read this one because this one sounds so interesting. It's about a filmmaker who is the grandson of a really famous Black actress from the 40s and 50s, and he ends up going to her cabin retreat that I think is spooky or haunted or something. I don't know, there's some family secrets, some weird situation happening at this retreat. Cover looks incredible. Plot sounds so interesting. I really want to read this one. We also have a new 831 Stories novella coming out titled Neverlasting by Angela Barusa. This one sounds so fun, and I've been hearing really good things. I think it's a one-night stand summer fling situation set in a small town. Obviously, it's going to be one night stand to lovers. I'm honestly really excited to read this one. Okay, and then also worth noting, there's some Christmas books that are going to start coming out. I'm not planning on reading them quite yet, but they're going to be on my radar. One of them is A Killer for Christmas by Kim Harrington, and this one looks to be combining both romance and mystery and cozy Christmas vibes, which I love. I always eat up. It's about a girl in a small town titled Christmasville in Maine, and everything is going smoothly until some murders occur, so then she becomes an amateur sleuth, and somehow there's a romance involved. I don't know, but I want to read this one. Okay, just a few more coming out on the 29th. First up is Threshing Day by Rebecca Yarros. This is the newest installment in the Empyrean series, or the Fourth Wing series, although it's not an actual full-length novel. It's a collection of 13 short stories, and I think they're all Threshing Day stories. I think some of the POVs are from a lot of our favorite characters from the other books, but then maybe some from some of the dragons. I might have misheard that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I know a lot of people are upset that it's not another full-length novel in the series, but I'm actually very excited about it, and I like that she's taking her time on the next book because I feel like she was rushed through some of the other ones, and I want her to take her time so that it's fantastic. And I feel like this will be a nice way to hold us over until then. Now, another collection of short stories-ish is The 12 Days of Christmas, which says it's an Advent romance collection. I think they are all interconnected, but each story is written by a romance author. There's one by Joss Richard. There's one by Alexandra Bellafleur, who I really enjoy. There's one by Olivia Dade, Alexis Daria. I actually have not read books by most of these authors, so I'm excited to kind of discover some of these. And like I said, I love a little holiday romance novella, so I'm excited to see what this one's like. Also, come on, that cover is perfection. We also have The Sisters of Crimson House by Melissa Anderson Sweezy, and this one sounds so interesting. It's about a family of psychics, and there's only one left living in the house that I think generations of their family grew up in, and she's about to lose the house, so in order to stop that from happening, she makes the house into a haunted attraction. It is marketed as a horror thriller, so I don't know if that means that it is actually a creepy house or not, but I'm very intrigued. One more short story, and that is Mestra by Madeline Miller, who is the same author of The Song of Achilles, which I haven't read, but I need to, and Circe, which I read and loved. This is another Greek mythology book, but this is a short story. I think it's under 100 pages, and it's about the goddess Mestra, who has the ability to transform into anything. anything. I think it has to be like a living object of sorts, but it can be any being that she imagines. So maybe it actually doesn't. Maybe it can just be like made out of her imagination. I don't know. I really love this author's writing. I like that it's a shorty book, so I'm obviously going to pick this up. And finally, what I think has the potential to be the juiciest book on this list, Ungrateful Immigrant Daughter, is a memoir by Katya Suvorova. Now the full title is Ungrateful Immigrant Daughter, a memoir from the child of a mail order bride. The second I saw that, I knew I had to read this book. The chaos that must be in this book, I feel like especially for fans of 90 Day Fiancé, I don't know, this just sounds so interesting, probably very chaotic, maybe even a little depressing, but I need to read it. And those are all the books coming out in September of this year that are on my list. However, there are so many, so if I missed any that you're really excited for, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to like, comment, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I post a video every Sunday. Next Sunday, I will hopefully be posting a reading vlog, and then the Sunday after that will be my August reading wrap up. And as always, thanks for hanging. Hope to see you next time. Bye.